So you think you are ready to retire? We speak to an author to find out what you need to know to be ready. Then, what does a bucket have to do with wealth? And learn what the Guaranteed Income Supplement is, and does it apply to you? All this and more on The Wealthy Life. What is your number one concern about retirement?
I have a retirement from the United States, and I was a teacher, and it's not really quite large enough, but we'll see.
Having enough money in order to retire.
Yeah, I echo that.
The number one concern is the fixed income. Definitely.
Today's guest is Barry LaValle, president of the Retirement Lifestyle Center and author of So You Think You Are Ready to Retire? Welcome, Barry.
Sybil, it's really good to be here.
Well, I want to hear a little bit more about your background before we dive into the retirement stuff.
Well, you know, I started my university with a degree in psychology, never did anything with it, got into the financial services industry, worked as an advisor, mutual funds executive, and I started to look at what I was doing and what other advisors were doing, and I thought, we don't really even understand retirement. And here we are, we're trying to give all this advice to everybody else. So I went back to my roots, back to understanding how people handle transitions as they go through their life and how they think and act and make decisions. And I focused almost exclusively on retirement since about 1997.
Wow, I think when it comes to the finance industry, psychology is probably one of the most helpful degrees somebody can have.
Yeah, but everybody overlooks it. I don't know why they think that this is just about money, and they don't even try and get inside the heads of the people they're trying to help.
No, and people focus so much on the money that they forget the money is just the means to an end.
Well, and that's really the focus that I've got now, is trying to help people get context, because they think it's all about money, or in retirement they think it's a workplace issue, but it's not. It's an emotional issue as people move from one stage of their life to another, and I don't think a lot of people are prepared for that.
Well, life is kind of one big emotional roller coaster, and you throw in the stock markets, another roller coaster, and people don't know where to turn.
That's right, and I think what they're looking for now is the kind of advisor that really can help them understand the context, understand the relationship that money plays in their life.
Try and take some of the emotions out of it, but not ignoring it.
No, but that's why behavioral finance has become such a big thing. Advisors understanding what's really going on as people look at their money. There's a new science, relatively new, called financial gerontology, which is the study of money as it relates to how we act as we get older, which I think is a real burgeoning field and something that I'm very much interested in.
Well, I can think about that. I think as people get older, inflation does its thing, but how many times have you heard, I can't believe a loaf of bread costs?
Oh, I know.
I remember when it used to be 10 cents. Does that play a part too? People get stuck in the past?
It very much does, and they get stuck in wrong ideas about what this next phase of life is. I think retirement's often painted as the 30-year long weekend, where it's a perpetual holiday. Well, let me ask you a question, true or false? Retirement could be the longest single phase of your life.
Yes.
Well, most people would say, right? Sure.
It could be.
Except, and I'm 64 years old. By the time I get to be 85, if I make it that far, I'm going to go through anywhere from 6 to 8 very distinct transitions, driven by my health or the health of my spouse. It's not one long life phase at all. It's really the beginning of what would be this last phase of my life, and whatever that entails.
So what is the big question you think Canadians have today?
The one I get most often is, what do I need to understand when I'm trying to make a retirement plan?
Well, Barry, that's a great question. So don't go away. I have a feeling the answer to this question will surprise you.
The Wealthy Life is brought to you by investment dealer Raymond James. Life well planned. See what a Raymond James advisor can do for you.
Welcome back. We're here with Barry LaValle, author of So You Think You Are Ready to Retire? To learn what people really need to know before they retire.
Well, Sybil, so many people go into this without the understanding of what this life is and what you're actually planning for. And unfortunately, a lot of their advisors are the same way. So it really becomes the blind leading the blind. The thing that people need to understand is that this is about life. It's about life at the beginning of your retirement. It's about life as it goes through the various transitions that you're going to make.
Wow.
So, yeah, I just think
Life.
the discussion has to be different. Yeah, there's a concept for you. There's a concept, and that's what I say in my workshops. I said, you know, forget the idea that this is retirement. It's just life.
Yeah.
You may not be working, and in some cases you're going to, but it's just life.
So what inspired you to write a book?
There was too much misunderstanding, and so I thought, all right, most advisors would have a difficult time bringing up a lot of the subjects that I might be able to bring up. And so I wrote the book for their clients. Advisors could give their clients the book that would talk about all these issues, which on the surface don't seem to relate directly to finance, but everything relates to the financial plan that ultimately has to be made. And so what I'm trying to do is save everybody a lot of time and just go through the basic things you need to know on the non-financial side of retirement.
Well, you know, it's great to hear because in my experience working with clients over the years, they don't want to know the nitpicky financial stuff. They want to work with someone who's going to take care of that for them. They want to understand it. But the most important question that I think every single client has is, will I be okay?
Yeah, and then that's generally the first question. But even that's a tough one. I think that you have to plan long-term. You have to plan short-term, long-term, because you may be alive a lot longer than you think.
Yes.
In fact, if you take a look at some of the research done in both Canada and the United States, most people underestimate the amount of time they need to plan for.
Yes, they do.
They do, and yet, you know, so they get into this plan and they think, well, okay, 85, that sounds like a nice, ripe old age. But if you're in good health at age 65 and you're female, you can expect to live to be well into your 90s. If you're male, you can live to be somewhere between 85 and 90. So we need to plan long-term. But planning long-term doesn't mean that you're going to spend the same way all the way through, and there are some issues that you should consider.
So now that'll take us to, what should people consider before they retire? And should they even retire?
Well, somebody had said, you know, we're all going to retire, and I'm saying maybe not. I think that the concept of retirement, as you and I know it today, probably won't exist in 25 years. And I say that because we may still take sabbaticals, we may still take time off, but this isn't back when we were an industrialized or an agrarian society where we worked really hard until we couldn't work anymore and then we needed our rest.
Yes.
You know, we get paid for what we know, and I think that businesses around the world look at the brain drain of all these people over age 60 that are deciding now they're going to take their knowledge and go sit on a beach, and they're saying, maybe not.
Well, how about all these great things people say, I'm going to do that when I retire? Does that really happen?
No, and that's one of the big fallacies is that, you know, I've got all this time, Sybil. I've got time to learn to golf now, and I've got time to travel that I've never been able to do before. But the fact is, you are who you are. If you didn't travel extensively before you retired, you will be less likely to travel when you're retired. Or the other one, I've got time to learn to paint. Well, here's the problem. If you're the kind of person that didn't do new things when you were younger, you didn't like to do new things.
Yes.
You think, oh, I got all this time now. Well, you've got time, but Sybil, you've also got you. And you are not, and not you as in Sybil Verch, but you as in the person who says, I got this time, probably doesn't really have the initiative to actually go out and start new things.
Wow. So what you're saying is people are going to do more of the same when they retire, and they may not be open to trying new things.
Well, now here's the challenge and the opportunity. The challenge is to overcome what naturally happens to us as we get older. In psychology, it's called continuity theory. And all that means is, as we get older, we circle the wagons. We become less likely to do new things. We become more conservative. Our prejudices, our biases become more entrenched. It's our way of handling the aging process. But there's a certain kind of individual that breaks through that, and these are the individuals that really get a great enjoyment out of retirement, and they're the self-directed people.
Well, I think there's so much more that we could cover, but to help people out, one of the first steps I recommend clients do is fill out a workbook to answer all these questions to see if you're ready for retirement, and maybe pick up a copy of your book while you're at it. Barry, thanks for being on the show today.
It's my pleasure.
So stay tuned. Up next, we learn about the bucket system and how it's linked to success with wealth.
The Wealthy Life is brought to you by investment dealer Raymond James. Life well planned. See what a Raymond James advisor can do for you.
With us today are wealth advisors Scott McCartney and George McConchey. George is also the author of If Money Could Talk. And I'd like to know what money would say. Welcome, George and Scott. Great to have you both on the show.
Thank you, Sybil. Great to be here.
Scott, how did you get into wealth management? What inspired that?
It really started when I was 12. My parents divorced. I'm an only child. And I grew up in two separate households. My father's household was very good at saving money. He actually bought me a Wealthy Barber when I was younger. My mother's, good book. And my mother's side was not so good at wealth management or saving money or anything like that. So there was quite a difference between the two households. As I grew up from an early age, I saw the benefits of good money management decisions and also the consequences of poor money management decisions. And I stayed with my mom through university, and her idea of saving money was putting loonies into a brass loonie piggy bank. Wow. And whenever she put that in there, it would make this noise, this coin on brass. It would make that noise, and that noise had stuck with me throughout my life. And she went back and certified herself as a nurse, and she worked nights. So I always knew it was the end of the month when she would come in, and I would still be getting out of bed to go to university, and I could hear it shake. And that was her making sure we had enough money for rent. So, you know, that had an effect on me for sure. When she passed away a couple years ago, we were cleaning out her place, and guess what we found? We found the piggy bank. And when I grabbed it, my wife was standing next to me. When I grabbed it, I shook it, and she said I turned kind of white, and all those feelings came back. So that's why I'm so passionate about helping people make smart decisions with their money. I wouldn't want anybody to feel that way.
Wow, I can't imagine what a horrible experience that would have been growing up, yet how well positioned it put you in a great place going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And helping other people.
Yeah.
George.
Yes.
What inspired you to write this book?
It was giving back to people that I wouldn't be able to get to sit with and helping them make smarter decisions with their money. And I just wanted to share what I've come to learn is most of the questions that people ask over the past 16 years.
Well, and that's the same type of thing we do here on the show, and I find that financial literacy in Canada is not at the level it should be.
True.
And there's not enough people to one-on-one teach everybody what they need to know. So your book sounds like it helps many.
And it's just written in very straight talk. It's not gobbledygook. It's just written for everyday people to make wiser decisions when they have a money situation.
So one of the things that I read in the book that piqued my interest was something that you two refer to as the bucket system.
Oh, yes.
And how it's linked to success with wealth.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
The system derived from 2008, you know, when the market crashed. We were both in the business at that time, and I learned that our way of being taught how to manage money really did not work through that time. The market was down. People were like double dipping into their accounts to get a retirement check.
They were forced to sell investments at a loss or a low value because they needed the income to live.
I remember selling the Bank of Nova Scotia stock at a generational low because the clients needed money sent to Arizona.
Yeah, they needed money.
And you knew if they could not sell and hold, the price is going to come back up. But
we didn't.
When you're retired,
if we had a bucket on the side.
So what do you mean about the bucket?
So in the bucket system, it looks simple to a client. We do a very good job of asking what kind of income they need in retirement from their investments.
Okay.
And then we put that first year, what they need monthly, sent into a money market, so there's no market volatility.
So you've got one bucket set up that's just savings that'll cover 1 year's worth of income.
Correct.
Right.
Got it.
Send it to the monthly or weekly or whatever they want. That's bucket one. Bucket two, we've gone into a portfolio of bonds that makes it pretty safe. We want to beat inflation in year one. That's all we want to do.
Okay.
So the idea is to return it without market fluctuations.
So you're in a little bit more in bucket two than bucket one, but it's still low risk conservative.
Ultra conservative.
Yes, yes,
Ultra.
ultra conservative.
And then for year three, we add about 10% of market just because we have to keep up with inflation.
Yes,
And that all works because on the big investment bucket,
yes.
we're skimming money off when we have market highs, and we're skimming back into the other three buckets, whichever one needs it.
And are the three buckets then, it's 3 years of income essentially?
3 years of income.
But if the markets are doing really well, you can skim off of the big piece of the portfolio.
Absolutely.
If the markets are not doing well, you just pull out of the savings account and you're not forced to sell anything.
That's right.
The creation of the buckets, sorry, George, the creation of the buckets is a pre-retirement decision.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's how we create them. We create them before
Well,
retirement.
the one thing that comes to my mind is you would need to plan this in advance because you need
Absolutely.
to have enough money to be able to have these different buckets.
Right.
And those come out of the financial plan, those answers.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. What is something else that people could get as a good takeaway from reading your book?
At the end of each chapter, there's a little summary called Straight Talk, which sums up the chapter, and it's fantastic. Like little bullet points on what the key takeaways of each chapter are, and I think they're great.
Yeah.
I wish I wrote it.
So, yeah.
Thanks.
But you work with the guy that wrote it, so that's the
know.
next best thing.
There's so much information in there, it's really hard to pick out different pieces, and the great thing is not everyone's going to read every piece because it won't apply.
No. Well, the good news for our viewers today is we do have a select number of these copies of these books to give away for free, but we only have a limited number, so contact us at thewealthylife.com if you would like a copy.
Yes.
Well, Scott and George, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and your words of wisdom.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Sybil.
And when we return, find out if you're eligible for the Guaranteed Income Supplement. Welcome back. Thanks for your letters, emails, tweets, and messages. Today's question is from Lester in Calgary. Dear Sybil, I'm 66 years old, divorced, and looking to retire soon, but I'm worried I won't have enough income to support myself. I don't have a pension plan and have very limited savings. I have contributed to the Canada Pension Plan my whole life and thought that would be enough, but I'm now realizing it might not be. I recently heard about another income source for seniors called GIS. Can you explain how much that is and who is eligible? Sincerely, Lester. Well, Lester, great question. Exciting to hear that you're about to retire or thinking about retirement, but I understand how scary it must be too. Most people, when they go into retirement, are earning an income much less than they're used to during their working years. And it sounds like you're no different. But the fact that you're asking these questions now, before you make the decision to retire, shows me that you're smart. You're making the right decisions in advance. So let me tell you a little bit about the Guaranteed Income Supplement. That's what GIS stands for. And essentially, the GIS is really an alternate income for seniors who are lower income. It's designed for those seniors who maybe don't have a pension plan from their employer, haven't anything in savings to help them through the retirement years, and may or may not qualify for some Canada Pension Plan income. Now, when you're looking at going into retirement, to ensure you have enough income, I recommend that you do a financial plan. Have a look at what do you think your expenses are going to be into retirement, and have a look at all your sources of income, and is that enough? I'm guessing that you're worried about a shortfall, and you may have a shortfall, and there's only 3 things you can do about it. Number 1, you can work longer, earn more money. Number 2, you could spend less, look at ways at cutting back your expenses. Or number 3, a combination of those together. Now, with the guaranteed income supplement, the maximum income you can earn to qualify for this income source is about $18,000 a year. That's it. If you earn more than that, you're not eligible. And the fact that you already have some Canada Pension Plan means that the value of your guaranteed income supplement, if eligible, will be less. The maximum amount of GIS is $900 a month, give or take. Now, these numbers do change every year, so you want to check with the government online to make sure you get the most accurate information for you. And I hope that answers your question, and you're well on your way to a successful and happy retirement. And that wraps up this edition of The Wealthy Life, helping Canadians make smart financial decisions. Join the conversation on social media and tell us your story. Go to thewealthylife.com to ask your financial question and find out how you can make the most out of what you have.